predetermined questions. These are going to be questions about New Jersey. After this section, we're going to have a section which is just questions from the floor. If anybody has questions, start thinking about them.
Yeah, hold on. Real quick, I actually have to leave at 7:20 because I have a class, so just tell me when it's 7:20.
Okay, no problem. So the first question for New Jersey will be, Governor-elect Chris Christie was elected in part due to his pledge not to raise taxes. Do you think it was an honest pledge? Do you think he will eventually raise taxes anyway?
Whose turn is it?
I think it's Brian's.
Is it mine? Oh, jeez. Okay. Was that? Okay, sorry. So I think that New Jersey is a very unique state, and I think we're always put in a very unique situation. I think Chris Christie has come in with this pledge of lowering taxes and attracting more businesses coming into New Jersey. But I think once he actually sees this situation and the circumstances ahead of him, I think he's going to start looking at things much differently. I think the nature of being New Jersey governor is that you have to deal with a lot of factions that take place, that exist in New Jersey. So like you have a lot of unions, you have a lot of factions, and these unions are actually very powerful in New Jersey. And you have a lot of special interests that you have to deal with. So I think while Chris Christie has made this pledge to do so, I don't really see him honoring it in the long term. And you can see during his campaign pledge, during his campaign that he actually didn't really put forth anything. You had Christie saying, "I'll lower taxes." You had Corzine saying that I'm better than Christie, and you had Daggett saying that I'm better than a two-party system. So like you never actually had any kind of clear intent with what these candidates were going. So I can't really give you a clear answer on what Chris Christie will actually do, but I'm more inclined to believe that he may not actually lower taxes and may just, I wouldn't say he'll raise it, but I think he might just continue with the status quo.
Well, first off, I just want to point out that I'm not a psychic, so I can't say for sure. But I take him at his word. I think that he spends an entire campaign talking about how he's going to lower taxes, not raise it. I think that that any good politician knows that you can't just reverse that all of a sudden and start raising taxes. That'll have tremendous political consequences for it. And furthermore, I think that Governor-elect Christie understands that we need lower taxes, and that New Jersey has the highest taxes in the country. So at this point, I can't really even imagine a situation where New Jersey has higher taxes. I think that once you get to the top of the mountain, the only way you can go is just go down the mountain, or maybe just stay up there for a little bit. But eventually, we need to get down the mountain. Once the economic situation clears up a little bit and our state revenues start going up, we need to start cutting the size of state government. We need to start cutting taxes, and we need to start bringing jobs back to New Jersey. That's all.
I want to first congratulate Chris Christie for winning. I know it's been a while, but I just want to throw that out there. And I also want to, I think Governor Corzine did a great job in the transition. I think it's been very, very helpful. The thing with Christie is he has to deal with the NJ Dems now. The Dems have an overwhelming majority in both houses, and he's basically at their will when it comes to passing laws to cut taxes, because they control the purse. And it's going to have to pass through the legislature, and he's going to have a tough time doing that. And he's the governor now, so I'm being in good faith, and I'm saying I'll give him his chance. I'll support him to the best of my ability, but he's going to have to prove to me that he can basically save the budget by just cutting taxes. Where's he going to raise revenue from? How is he going to bring businesses into New Jersey? And I think one of the things that's important, and it ties back to the national stage, is when it comes to healthcare. One of the proposals come in the Senate is an opt-out healthcare option for the states. If he's going to decide to opt out, or if the legislature decides to opt out, which probably wouldn't happen, but if it's given to the governors and the governors decide to opt out, I think that's a bad thing, because businesses in New Jersey can't keep their employers if they're not going to have a good health coverage. And if they're not going to have a public option that keeps costs down, they're going to move out of New Jersey. They're going to go to New York, they're going to go to Pennsylvania. So I think it's a smart business decision for him to keep the opt-out, to work with the Democrats on the national stage to make sure that they have a public option plan in New Jersey. And I think that's one of the most important things that he can do in terms of keeping jobs in Jersey.
All right. The next question would be, do the elections in New Jersey and Virginia, in which Republicans won the governorships, equate to a referendum on President Obama?
No. Simple answer is no. Because state elections are rarely indicators of national elections, rarely. And any political pundit, any commentator would tell you this. And in fact, the biggest referendum that should be on President Obama's or the rights movement should be the New York 23rd race that happened in upstate New York. You know, you had the Tea Party movement, the Teabaggers come in and basically pick their own candidate, and the candidate lost. He lost overwhelmingly, and you know they're trying to push the moderates out of their own party, which I think is a very, very poor strategy. You have to be a big tent party like the Democrats. You have to be a diverse party like the Democrats. You have to stop applying purity tests, you know, like the 10 Commandments that the GOP just came out with, that, you know, you have to support all of these to be a, you know, certified Republican. It doesn't make sense. You have to be a big tent party. You can have whatever core principles you want. I'm not going to deny that. I'm just saying that in reality, any party that puts a purity test on its members is bound to fail. That's why the Democrats expanded their base. They brought in pro-life Democrats. They brought in fiscal conservative Democrats. They brought in, you know, rural Democrats. They brought in. It's a big tent party. So it basically we have a huge majority. We compromise on issues where we have to, and we don't when we don't. So I think I can speak from as a perspective as a pro-life Democrat, and I think it's important that you have a big tent party to make sure you reach out to the most constituents as you possibly can. So this is not a referendum whatsoever. And I think John Corzine was badly served by his campaign. I think he could have run a much better campaign, and I don't think he's a great politician. I think he's a great governor. I don't think he can express his views as a politician effectively. He's not President Obama. That's the thing. So, and Virginia's always been a purple state, so it goes both ways. So it's definitely not a referendum on President Obama. You have to look at the congressional districts. You have to look at the special elections. Those are the referendums on the national race. And clearly they've been going the Democrats' way. So this is not a referendum whatsoever.
First, I'd like to think that, you know, people don't vote based on particular issues. Like I remember watching a video, an ad campaign of attacking Bill Baroni, a state senator. And it was a Sima Hing ad, and she essentially tried to attack Baroni by comparing him to George Bush and saying that, you know, he supported the war in Iraq, and like he did all of these things and tried to make Baroni and Bush pretty much in the same boat. But in saying so, I don't think that, you know, your policies in New Jersey have anything to do with the national policies. So I think the reason why Corzine essentially lost this election because people were pissed about the amount of taxes that were being raised on them. You know, the type of property taxes were being raised, and it seemed like there was no end in sight, especially with the type of, you know, inefficiencies and bureaucracy that was going on during the Corzine administration. So, I mean, I think that's why ultimately people decided to vote Corzine out of office. But in saying so, I tend to think that a lot of people may be scared with the type of changes that Obama has been making on a national level, and they tend to sort of relate their party with the national candidates. Like they kind of just want to group everyone in the same category. So I think while a lot of people did base their vote on things like tax hikes by Corzine, I think a lot of it has to do with a relation to the party, and it may or may not actually relate to how people feel about Obama's policies and Obama in the general spectrum.
Well, first I want to point out that President Obama and his team tried to make these elections national issues, that towards the end he was coming to New Jersey more and more. He even went down to Virginia to visit with Craig Deeds, the Democratic candidate. So he did try to make it a referendum on himself. And you heard Corzine using rhetoric that Obama used in 2008, like Chris Christie's going to bring us the failed economic policies of the past 8 years. When you use that kind of rhetoric, then yeah, you can say that it's at least partially a referendum on President Obama, but I think more so it's a referendum on the incumbents in the country. That in New Jersey they were facing unpopular governor. In Virginia it wasn't the actual governor because they only have one term limits, but the incumbent party was lost huge, and not just in the governorship but all throughout the state. That so I would say more than it's a referendum on Obama, it's more of a referendum on the incumbents in the country.